Well, let's start with the suppose. Let's suppose today that suddenly, somehow, you had a checking account. And in that checking account was all the money that you've wasted over the last 10 years. But you couldn't spend it. You could only give it away. It would be fun. I would love to have all the money that I've wasted in 10 years. I'd hear about a need and I'd want to meet a need. Somebody tell me about somebody's going through a hard time with sickness, and I'd want to be a part of that. And on it would go. And what I didn't give away in 12 months was lost. So I would want to make sure that I used all the money that was there and get the most out of it. Think about the fun it would be for you to give generously without expecting anything in return, just for the joy of giving. Would you be happier? Would you be happy to get to do that? How much more joy would you have in your life because you were giving so generously? Now today, we're going to talk about money. And I know that people get nervous when we talk about money. And there's a couple of reasons I'll allude to as we go through. But we're going to talk about money, and in particular, we're going to talk about generosity. But here's a promise I want to make today. And I'm entitling this message, The Generosity Promise. When you become generous, you will give more, save more, and consume less. Generous people give more, they save more, but they can consume less. See, I would love to live that way. And the reason people are nervous when you start talking about money is not because that we don't have enough. A lot of times we think that's what it is. We say, if I just had more income. But it's not because we don't have enough, or don't make enough, or haven't saved enough. The reason we're nervous about money is because we're not generous. But let me give you a second promise here. You will be happier when you're generous. Generosity makes you happy. Now, I'm not just giving you some sort of something I've thought of. Jesus really gave us this principle. But it's a principle that we've heard so much, so often, it's been overused and misused that we miss it. It's lost its meaning in our modern lives. Let me give you a little backdrop here. In Acts chapter 20, Paul is speaking to the Ephesian elders, and he'd spent a lot of time there with the Ephesians in discipling them, and he had a real love relationship with them. But he is leaving because he had to go do something else. He had to go to other parts of the world for the ministry that God had called him to. And he is leaving, and he's got tears in his eyes, and they're all weeping over him. And he tells them, he says, I've lived a generous life in front of you. I didn't take anything from you. I worked, I did. I've given to you. And he goes on, and he says, I want you to live that way. and he quotes Jesus. Acts chapter 20 and verse 35. Look at it. He says, "And I have been a constant example how you can help those in need by working hard." That's what he's done. You should remember the words of the Lord Jesus. It is more, say it, to give than to receive. And we say that a lot at Christmas, don't we? Oh, it's more blessed to give than receive. But I really think that we have overused it and misused it so that we don't even really grasp the concept of what it means to be a giver. Here's what it means. Happy is the person whose life is ordered around giving rather than receiving. I'm going to read that again. Happy is the person whose life is ordered around giving rather than receiving. Now, I wish I could tell you that that is true of me, but I can't. Maybe glimpses here and there. I know some people that I think, they really live this way. And it causes me to want to live this way. And my prayer is that for this message and next week's message, that you will just get a hunger to understand what real generosity is, how to order your life around giving. You see, the word there that's used, blessed, really means happy. It does not refer to a moment in time, but it refers to a way of living. Happiness is the outcome of a lifestyle of generosity. Now, we all want to be happy, don't we? They have like this. We want to be happy. But we try to be happy by going and doing and spending. Get a new dress, it makes me happy. Get a new car, it makes me happy. Go into Disney World, it makes me happy. The only thing about all this stuff is we are inverting the process. Because doing and getting does not lead to happiness. Jesus said it. He said, happy is the person whose life is ordered around giving rather than receiving. And so Paul echoes this truth. If you live this kind of life, the kind of life that's generous, you'll be happy. And when we talk about being generous, most of us can think of a time when we lived or did something generously. I could present a need here today. I could tell you a story about somebody's situation. And a lot of people here would be very quick to give them because y'all are givers. You want to be a giver. But generosity is not responding to a need. Generosity does not respond to guilt. The fact that everybody gives at times, it masks this fact that we're really not that generous. You see, our giving is more random than it is by principle, the principle of generosity. And I'm sort of challenging your thought a little bit here today, but I want to teach you how to do something. My goal is not to teach you how to be a giver. My goal is to teach you how to be something. And when I say you, I mean me as well. You see, we don't just need to learn how to do something, but we need to learn how to be something. Generosity is being what Jesus said. It leads to happiness. Generosity, it doesn't come to us natural. How many of you have to teach your kids to share? Yeah. See, it doesn't come natural. And some of us don't like to share our stuff today. If you hide your cookies from your spouse, you're not generous. Oh, you're afraid to get trouble. It doesn't come natural to us to be generous. No matter how much random giving we do, there's still resistance in us that causes us to want to hang on to what we have been given or what we think we have worked for. The kind of generosity we're talking about is not natural. You know, it is crazy when you think what is natural in this world when it comes to money. Think about it for a minute. Most Americans spend more money than we make. That's crazy. Not only that, but most Americans pay interest on things that decrease in value the moment you take possession of them. Now, in order to really wrap our heads around this, I've got a chart. As soon as we purchase something, that's that line going up and down, its price increases, but its value decreases. Think about the things you bought on credit and what's happened to it. The value went down, but the cost went up. That's not normal. We think we are rational, sensible people, but that's not normal. It's crazy. And as a result of this, something happens to us. Go to that next screen, Scott. When we spend more than we make, I think I've got the words exchanged there. When we spend more than we make, we get debt. And when we get debt, we live with no margin in our life. Now, what I mean by no margin is no room. No room to go out and eat. No room to buy something good that's on sale. No room. And when we got no room, no margin in our lives, we start worrying. It's a crazy cycle that we get in when we spend more than we make. We worry about, will I have enough? And then because we worry about not having enough, we spend more than we make. And because we spend more than we make, we wind up with debt. The value goes down, the price goes up. And because we accumulate debt, we have no margin in our life, no wiggle room, which gives us something to what? Worry about. And as a result, we spend more than we make. It's a cycle. But we worry about something called future consumption. Because we spent more than we make and we don't have any margin, we worry, am I going to have enough for tomorrow? Are y'all with me? But because we worry about tomorrow, we continue to consume more than we make. Because we're borrowing from today to pay for tomorrow. And we're borrowing from tomorrow to pay for the day. We consume more than we make. And then as a result of consuming more than we make, we wind up with consumer debt. And then because we have consumer debt, we have no margin for future consumption. And disciple goes on. Now, what drives this kind of thing? What drives our mindset that causes us to act in an irrational manner? And so I'm going to come back to what Jesus said in a minute. It's the consumption assumption. Don't raise your hand, but how many of you have made the consumption assumption? If it comes to me, it's for me. I got a check in the mail. Oh boy, I can go buy a new TV. I want a vacation. If it comes to me, it's for me. We get a raise at work. If it comes to me, it's for me. You see, that's the consumption assumption. We live as if everything is for us because we want to take care of me. How much more money? I'll wrap it up here in a minute. How much more money would you need to stop spending more than you make? I don't know if y'all heard what he said. He said you'd have to win the lottery. You see, sometimes we think if I could just get a raise at work, 10% wouldn't do it. 15% wouldn't do it. If you went to work and got a 30% raise, you see, over time, your income increases, but you spend everything you make plus some. How many of you can remember when you made a lot less and you thought, if I just made more money, it'd be different? It's not different. You see, this is not a money problem. I'm not talking to you today about a money problem. It's a self-control issue. I am preaching right up my alley here today, okay? We spend more than we make. We consume more than we can afford. We have a self-control problem. If 10% wouldn't do it, and 20% wouldn't do it, the answer is way more money than you'll ever get at one time. He said, win the lottery. By the way, just my opinion, that's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. You see, money is not the problem. Self-control is. And the fact that we have debt, debt's not the problem. Contentment is. Paul said in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10, 11, he said, you brought nothing into this world. It's for certain you're going to carry nothing out. He said, godliness with contentment is great gain. Do you know that there is actually freedom in losing everything? If you lost everything today, you'd be free. That's why people go bankrupt all the time. But see, now where our bankruptcy laws are set up so that you can go bankrupt and still keep what you've got. You just lose the debt. But you know what happens? People continue to spend more than they make. They start building consumer debt. And they know it, they've got no wiggle room. And then they're worried about money. So it's not a money issue, it's a contentment issue. How much more money would it take for you to have margin in your life? Room. 10%, 20%? How much of a raise would you need? See, the truth is, as your income increases, your current habits increase as well. And our habits are no self-control. Living without contentment and living without discipline. And so, if we follow the cycle, worry is not a money problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a contentment problem. It's not a self-control problem. What is worry? It's a spiritual problem. Because Jesus taught us clearly that we should not worry. He told us the story about the birds and how the Lord took care of them. He told us the story about the flowers of the field and how God clothed them. And God wants us to live without that worry. Jesus never said to overcome worry, you got to make more money. The reason we worry is we put our trust in money and not in the one who richly provides. Look at 1 Timothy chapter 6. That's what Paul said. 1 Timothy 6 is a treasure trove of how to live financially. You want to know? Man, it's just loaded. But look what he said in verse 17. He says, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud, nor to trust in their money. I like King James, it says, in uncertain riches. Money is uncertain. Jobs are uncertain. CDs are, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a CD or a job or money, but it's uncertain. What is certain? He says, don't trust in money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, which richly, or who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. And he went on. He said, tell them to use their money to do good. Be generous. That they should be rich in good works and generous to those in need. Always being ready to share with others. Can I tell you something about me? Just you put your hand right here, don't, so your mouth won't fall open. I don't always have money to give to every need. Why? Because I live with certain people's riches instead of towards God. And you have to. More money does not generate more self-control, more discipline, more contentment. Generous people do not live this way, and there are generous people. They don't live this way. They're not driven by the consumption assumption that if it comes to me, it's for me. Jesus calls this consumption assumption attitude that most of us say that we experience. You know what he calls it? It's a word that makes you're going to feel uncomfortable. He calls it greed. Greed. When we think of greed, we think of some guy in the basement counting his gold coins. Like, is it Scrooge at Christmas? But greed is a person who may have very little or may have a lot. They live with the idea that if it comes to them, it's for them. That is greed. Greed always leads to discontentment. It always leads to worry. It always leads to no margin in our lives. say, well, how do you, show me the scripture. I'm glad you asked. Luke chapter 12, verse 16. Jesus told him a parable. He said, the land of a rich man produced plenty. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I know what I'll do. I'll do this. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I can store all my grain and all my goods. He's teaching us about greed. By the way, Jesus talked more about money than he did any other subject. There's more in your Bible about money than there is heaven or hell. So if I preach on money or something to do with it once or twice a year, I'm really doing not enough, okay? You see, more did not make that man generous, it just made him richer. But look, what are you saying in verse 18? He says, I'll save it for now and I'll consume it later. Because it came to me, it's for me. He lives with the same mindset. Then look at verses 19 and beyond. He says, and I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. He's planning after he's tore down his barns and he's got all his new barns full. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? And then if Jesus had worn glasses, he would have looked over his glasses at those disciples. And he would have looked over them to us. So it is the one who lays up treasure himself and is not rich towards God. He's comparing this idea that if it comes to me, it's for me. He says it's foolish. He says it's better to be rich toward God. In the end, we see that this man, all the stuff he had accumulated, did not guarantee time. He had the stuff for time, as he could see it, but it didn't give him time. In fact, he was consumable. He was disposable. And he says somebody else is going to get his stuff. Whose will it be? Why? Because he was greedy. He was not generous. He never learned the principle of generosity. And so now he's dead. And all the stuff's gone. All he had accumulated for himself, someone else is now consuming. Now, who will get what you have prepared for yourself? He says this is how it's going to be. Again, I'll reference back to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 17. He says, as you are rich toward others, you are rich towards God. So it's not what you possess, but what you give away that is truly riches. Generous people don't assume that it's theirs to consume. And Jesus here defies the notion of ownership. You may have a name on a title of something. But if you're eventually going to lose it, whose is it anyway? If it can be taken away, you never really owned it anyway. If someone else is going to possess it, you're not the owner. If you cannot control where it eventually goes, you are only managing it temporarily. You don't own it. And the Bible teaches us that everything belongs to God. Everything. You say, well, why is that? I worked for it. Well, first of all, He gave you the strength to work for it. But there is no guarantee that you can keep it. Because you're going to die. And then whose will it be? Now, we can see this truth clearly. I'll get to the screen in a minute. We'll see this truth clearly. If you've ever had a parent to die, and you've had to go through their stuff, you've had to go through and evaluate what's there. You might take some of it and throw it away. Because it's just something they kept, but it has no value. No sentimental value, no value of any kind. You dispose of it. You take some of it and maybe you give it away. You divide it with your family. You take some of it and you give it away just to whoever wants it. Just because you need to get rid of it. There's some of it that you store and keep. And maybe you take some of it and you sell it. But in doing that, in dealing with somebody else's stuff, we learn that none of us are really owners. We're only managers. Generous people live every single day free from the encumbrance of stuff. You say, man, I'd like to live that way. It is amazing and freeing and transforming to take the truth that Jesus talked about and to say, that's what I want. That's the way I want to live. And Jesus makes the point very clear. Since it's all going to be taken away, why would you miss the opportunity to give it away? Remember how I started? If you had a checking account that had everything you wasted, don't you wish, instead of wasting it, you would have given it away? See, a lot of people would say, well, I just would like to have it. And then what? Well, then I'd buy a house. And then what? Well, I'd take care of my kids. And then what? You know what the end of everything is? You're going to leave this world, and you're not going to take away anything that you didn't come with. Well, we all came with nothing. And so ownership is really a myth. And it always leads to discontentment and worry. Now, I'm not saying you should never buy anything, but you should know it's really not yours. It's God's who's given it to you. And you're just the manager of it. Imagine what it would be like to live your life free from the worry about money. Think about it for a second. Free from the worry about money. I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, preacher, if I win the lottery, I'm going to pay off my house, and I'm going to build a church, build a building. Few people can manage what they have not already managed. And so I think next week I'm going to talk to you about how to become generous, how to inherit the promise. The generosity promise. Actually, how to do it. But today I want to close with just this simple thought. Lord, teach me not to learn how to tithe, or not to learn how to give. Lord, teach me to be generous.